The contraction ripped through Naomi's body like fire. She gripped the hospital bed rails, her knuckles turning pale as sweat poured down her face. The monitor beside her beeped frantically, showing her baby's heartbeat racing along with her own. "Just breathe, honey," Nurse Patterson said softly, wiping Naomi's forehead. "Your husband should be here any minute." Naomi wanted to believe that. She had called Preston 3 hours ago when her water broke. 3 hours of labor, alone, staring at the door and hoping he would walk through it. The door finally opened. Preston walked in wearing his expensive suit, the one she had bought him for his birthday last year when she worked 4 double shifts to afford it. His face held no warmth, no concern. Behind him, Naomi could see a woman in the hallway. Tall, blonde, wearing designer clothes. The woman smiled. "Preston," Naomi gasped between contractions. "Thank God you're here. The baby is coming soon and I'm so scared, Anne." "Sign these," Preston interrupted, dropping a stack of papers on her bed. Naomi stared at the documents. Her vision blurred from pain and tears, but she could make out the words at the top. "Divorce papers." "What?" Her voice came out broken, confused. "I want a divorce. Right now. Today." Preston's voice was cold, like he was discussing the weather. "Sign them, Naomi." Another contraction hit. Naomi cried out, her body curling forward. Through the pain, she heard Preston sigh with impatience. "Are you serious right now?" Nurse Patterson stepped forward, her face angry. "Your wife is in active labor. Whatever this is, it needs to wait." "This is between me and my wife," Preston snapped. "Stay out of it." Naomi's breath came in short gasps. "Preston, please. I don't understand. What's happening? Why are you doing this?" "Because I'm done pretending," Preston said, his lips curling into something ugly. "I'm done pretending to love you. I'm done pretending this marriage means anything. I'm done with you." The words hit harder than any contraction. "We can talk about this later," Naomi pleaded, reaching for his hand. He pulled away like her touch burned him. "Please just stay with me right now. Help me through this. We can figure everything out after the baby comes." "There's nothing to figure out." Preston pulled a pen from his pocket and held it out to her. "I'm marrying Isabel. That's her in the hallway. We've been together for 2 years. She's everything you're not. Beautiful, successful, from a good family. She doesn't smell like hospital disinfectant. She doesn't embarrass me." 2 years. While Naomi worked night shifts. While she dealt with morning sickness alone. While she paid their bills and cooked his meals and believed in their marriage. 2 years of lies. "I'm 8 months pregnant with your child," Naomi whispered. "Sign the papers, Naomi." Preston's voice grew harder. "I'm not asking." Another contraction. Naomi screamed, her body trying to bring their daughter into the world while her heart shattered into pieces. "Mr. Bennett, I'm going to have to ask you to leave," Nurse Patterson said firmly. "This is completely inappropriate. I'll leave as soon as she signs." Preston pushed the papers closer to Naomi. "Come on. You're not stupid. You knew this marriage was over. I did you a favor, really. Stayed long enough to give you a kid. Now you can go play single mom and leave me alone." Tears streamed down Naomi's face. Not just from the pain of labor, but from the cruelty of the man she had loved for 5 years. The man she had married in a small ceremony because they couldn't afford anything big. The man she had supported through every failed business idea and career change. "Why are you being so mean?" Naomi sobbed. "What did I do to you?" "You exist," Preston said simply. "You're boring. You're poor. You're beneath me. Isabel's father owns half the city. She can give me the life I deserve. You're just a nurse who couldn't even afford a decent wedding dress." Naomi looked at Nurse Patterson, silently begging for help. But what could anyone do? These were legal documents. This was her husband. As much as the nurse wanted to throw Preston out, he had the right to be there. The contraction passed. In the brief moment of relief, Naomi's hand shook as she reached for the pen. "Good girl," Preston said mockingly. "Always so obedient." Naomi sighed. Her name looked shaky, barely readable, written through tears and trauma. But it was done. On every page where yellow sticky arrows pointed, she signed away her marriage. Preston snatched the papers before the ink dried. "Finally. I'll have my lawyer file these tomorrow." "Get out," Nurse Patterson said, her voice shaking with anger. "Now." Preston straightened his tie. "Gladly. Oh, and Naomi? Don't call me when the brat is born. I'll pay whatever child support the court makes me pay, but that's it. I don't want to be a father. I never did." He walked out. Through the open door, Naomi saw him kiss Isabel in the hallway. The blonde woman looked into the room, met Naomi's eyes and smiled. Then they left together. Naomi's next contraction came with a sound that was half scream, half sob. Nurse Patterson held her hand, whispering comforting words, but nothing could touch the pain inside Naomi's chest. "I hate him," Naomi gasped between pushes an hour later. "I hate him so much." "I know, honey," the nurse said. "Push. Almost there." At 11:47 p.m., Naomi gave birth to a perfect baby girl. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Dark curls and brown eyes like Naomi's. The nurses cleaned the baby and placed her on Naomi's chest. "She's beautiful," Dr. Stone said softly. Naomi looked down at her daughter and felt love she had never known existed. "Ruth," she whispered. "Her name is Ruth. After my aunt who raised me." The baby curled her tiny fingers around Naomi's thumb. In that moment, holding her daughter, Naomi made a promise. She would survive this. She would be strong. She would give Ruth a better life than Naomi ever had. Preston thought he had broken her by leaving when she was most vulnerable. But he was wrong. He had no idea what was coming. 6 months earlier, Naomi's life looked different. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror, staring at the positive pregnancy test. Her hands trembled as she held it up to the light, checking again. 2 pink lines. Definitely pregnant. "Preston," she called out, excitement bubbling in her chest. "Preston, come here. I have news." Preston walked into the bathroom, scrolling through his phone. He barely looked up. "What?" "I'm pregnant." Naomi held up the test, smiling so wide her cheeks hurt. "We're going to have a baby." Preston's eyes finally left his phone screen. "You're what?" "Pregnant." "I know we weren't exactly planning it right now, but isn't it wonderful? We've talked about having kids eventually, and…" "How did this happen?" Preston's voice was flat, cold. Naomi's smile faded slightly. "The usual way. We're married, Preston. We live together. These things happen. I can't believe you were this careless." Preston turned away, running his hand through his hair. "I'm trying to build my real estate career. I'm networking with important people. I don't have time for a baby right now." "It takes 2 people to make a baby," Naomi said quietly. "And I thought you wanted a family someday." "Someday, yeah. Not now. Not when I'm this close to closing the biggest deal of my career." Preston looked at her like she had done something terrible to him. "Can you get rid of it?" The words hit Naomi like cold water. "What? No. Preston, this is our child." "It's a bunch of cells right now," Preston said dismissively. "It's not too late." "I'm not having this conversation." Naomi's voice shook. "I'm keeping our baby. I thought you would be happy." Preston laughed bitterly. "Happy? You want me to be happy that my wife trapped me with a pregnancy?" "Trapped you? We're married. Whatever. Do what you want. But don't expect me to be excited about this." Preston walked out of the bathroom, leaving Naomi standing there with the positive test in her hand and tears in her eyes. That should have been her first warning. The next few weeks got worse. Preston started coming home later and later. He stopped touching Naomi, stopped kissing her goodnight, stopped sitting with her during dinner. When she asked him about his day, he gave one-word answers. Naomi threw herself into work at County General Hospital. She picked up extra shifts in the maternity ward, saving every penny she could. With a baby coming, they needed money. Preston's real estate career was unpredictable. Some months he made good money, most months he made nothing. She was the stable one. The reliable one. The one who made sure the rent was paid and the lights stayed on. 2 months into her pregnancy, Naomi got the phone call that changed everything. "Miss Bennett? This is Oakwood Senior Living. I'm so sorry to inform you that your Aunt Ruth passed away this morning." Naomi dropped the phone. She sank to the floor of the hospital break room, gasping for air. Aunt Ruth. The woman who raised her when Naomi's parents died in a car crash. The woman who worked 2 jobs to put Naomi through nursing school. The woman who taught her about strength and dignity and surviving hard times. Gone. Preston came home that night to find Naomi crying on the couch. "Aunt Ruth died," Naomi said through tears. "She had a heart attack. They said it was peaceful, but I wasn't there. I should have been there." Preston barely paused in taking off his jacket. "That's rough. When's the funeral?" "Saturday. I need to go to Ohio to handle her affairs." She didn't have anyone else. "Ohio? That's like a 6-hour drive." Preston frowned. "I have a showing on Saturday." "You're showing?" Naomi looked up at him, disbelief cutting through her grief. "Preston, my aunt died. The woman who raised me." "I know, and I'm sorry, but this showing is important. I can't reschedule." I need you there with me. Naomi, be realistic. We need money, especially now with a kid coming. I can't miss this opportunity. She was my family, Naomi whispered. Was being the key word. She's gone. Missing my showing won't bring her back. Preston grabbed his keys. I'm going to the gym. Don't wait up. He left. Naomi sat alone in the dark apartment, one hand on her growing belly, crying for Aunt Ruth and for the marriage that was dying in front of her eyes. The funeral was small. Just Naomi, Aunt Ruth's lawyer, and a few neighbors from her building. Naomi stood by the grave, her hand resting on her pregnant stomach, saying goodbye to the only mother she had ever known. Preston didn't call. Not once during the entire trip. When Naomi got back to their apartment Sunday night, Preston was on the couch watching television. How did it go? He asked without looking at her. I buried my aunt today. Right. Did she leave you anything? The question felt wrong. Dirty. I don't know. The lawyer is handling her estate. She didn't have much. Lived in the same small apartment for 30 years. So nothing useful then. Preston turned back to the TV. Figures. Naomi stood there, suitcase in hand, staring at the man she married. When had he become this person? Or had he always been this way and she just hadn't seen it? I'm going to bed, Naomi said quietly. Before you do, we need to talk about money. Preston finally looked at her. My showing fell through. The client went with another agent. We're going to be tight this month. I just got paid. I can cover rent and bills. You always do, Preston said. Must be nice being a nurse. Steady paycheck. Meanwhile, I'm out here hustling, trying to make something of myself. Naomi wanted to scream. She wanted to remind him that she worked 12-hour shifts on her feet while pregnant. That she came home exhausted and still cooked dinner. That her steady paycheck was the only reason they had an apartment at all. But she was too tired. Too sad. Too worn down. Good night, Preston. She went to their bedroom and cried herself to sleep, one hand on her belly, whispering to the baby growing inside her. It's okay, little one. Mommy loves you. Everything will be okay. But deep down, Naomi knew nothing was okay. Her marriage was falling apart, her aunt was gone, and she was about to become a mother while feeling more alone than she had ever felt in her life. She just didn't know how much worse things would get. By her 5th month of pregnancy, Naomi's body was changing in ways that terrified her. Her blood pressure was too high. She had constant headaches. Her ankles swelled so badly she could barely fit into her shoes. Dr. Stone looked concerned during Naomi's checkup. Your blood pressure is 140/95. That's too high. I'm putting you on modified bed rest. Bed rest? I can't. I have to work. Naomi sat up on the exam table, her mind racing. We need the money. Naomi, if you don't slow down, you could develop preeclampsia. That's dangerous for both you and the baby. Dr. Stone's voice was firm but kind. I'm writing you a note for reduced hours. No more than 20 hours a week and nothing physically demanding. Naomi's eyes filled with tears. 20 hours a week meant half her usual paycheck. How would they survive? That night, she tried to explain the situation to Preston. I have to cut back my hours. Doctor's orders. My blood pressure is dangerous. Preston looked up from his laptop. So you're choosing to make less money right now? When we need it most? I'm not choosing anything. If I don't rest, I could have a stroke. The baby could die. It's always something with you, Preston muttered, turning back to his computer. Naomi stood there, stunned. Did you really just say that? I'm stressed, okay? I'm trying to close deals and you're telling me we're losing half your income. How am I supposed to react? Like a husband. Like a father. Like someone who cares if his wife and child survive. Preston slammed his laptop shut. Don't make me the bad guy here. I'm working my tail off trying to provide for this family. What family? You haven't touched my stomach once. You haven't asked about the baby. You haven't come to a single doctor's appointment. Because I'm working. You're hiding, Naomi said, the truth finally coming out. You're hiding from this pregnancy. From me. From responsibility. Preston stood up. I'm going out. It's 11 at night. Where are you going? Anywhere but here. He grabbed his keys and left. Naomi heard his car start, heard him drive away. She sank onto the couch and stared at the wall, one hand on her belly, feeling the baby kick. I'm sorry, little one, she whispered. Your daddy is scared. But I'm here. I'll always be here. Preston came home at 4 in the morning. Naomi pretended to be asleep. The next week, Naomi was paying bills when she noticed something wrong. Their joint credit card showed charges she didn't recognize. Jewelry store, $3,200. Hotel downtown, $450. Restaurant she had never been to, $280. Her hands shook as she scrolled through more charges. Different hotels. Expensive dinners. A spa day. Flowers from a high-end florist. None of it was for her. When Preston got home that evening, Naomi had the credit card statement printed out on the kitchen table. "What's this?" She pointed at the charges. Preston barely glanced at the paper. "What's what?" $3,000 at a jewelry store. I didn't buy any jewelry. Hotels I've never stayed at. Dinners I never ate. Naomi's voice shook. "Where is this money going?" "Business expenses." Preston opened the refrigerator. "I take clients out. I buy gifts to close deals. That's how real estate works. This is our money, Preston. Money I earned while pregnant and exhausted. You spent $3,000 without even asking me? It's a joint account. I don't need permission. We're supposed to be partners." Preston turned to face her, his expression cold. "You want to know the truth? Fine. I'm networking with people way above your level. These are important clients who expect a certain lifestyle. I can't show up looking broke. I can't take them to cheap restaurants. Image matters in my business. And I don't matter at all?" "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." Naomi stood up, her vision blurring with tears. "I work myself sick to pay our bills while you spend thousands on strangers. I'm carrying your child and you can't even pretend to care. Maybe if you weren't always complaining, I'd want to be around more." Preston grabbed a beer and headed for the living room. "I'm done with this conversation." Naomi followed him. "I'm not. We need to talk about money. About respect. About this marriage. There's nothing to talk about. You're paranoid and hormonal. Maybe it's the pregnancy making you crazy." The word crazy hit like a slap. "Don't you dare." "Or what?" Preston smiled, cruel and cold. "You'll leave? With no money and a baby on the way? Where exactly would you go, Naomi?" She had no answer. He was right. She had no family left except Aunt Ruth, who was gone. Her friends had drifted away during the marriage because Preston always found reasons they couldn't go out. She had $20,000 in medical school debt and now a reduced paycheck. Preston knew all of this. He was counting on it. "That's what I thought," he said, settling onto the couch. "Now drop it." Naomi went to the bedroom and closed the door. She sat on the edge of the bed, trembling. This wasn't love. This wasn't marriage. This was something dark and broken and wrong. The next day she found the earring. She was cleaning out Preston's car, trying to be a good wife despite everything. Under the passenger seat, her fingers touched something small and metallic. She pulled it out. A diamond earring. Expensive, delicate, beautiful. Not hers. Naomi sat in the driver's seat, staring at the earring in her palm. All the late nights. The unexplained charges. The distance. The cruelty. There was someone else. When Preston got home, Naomi was waiting with the earring on the coffee table. "Whose is this?" Her voice was surprisingly calm. Preston looked at the earring. Something flickered across his face. Panic, maybe, or calculation. Then his expression smoothed into irritation. "It's from a client. She left it in my car after a property showing." "A client?" "Yes, Naomi. A client. I drive people around all day looking at houses. Sometimes they leave things in the car. It happens. This is a diamond earring. Real diamonds. Who's your client?" "I'm not giving you names of my clients. That's confidential business information." Naomi laughed, a broken sound. "You're lying to my face. You're being paranoid again." Preston picked up the earring and pocketed it. "I'll return it to her tomorrow." "Happy now?" "No. I'm not happy. I haven't been happy in months." "Then maybe you should see a therapist about that," Preston said coldly. This jealous, suspicious behavior isn't healthy. He was gaslighting her. Making her doubt her own mind. Making her feel crazy for noticing his affair. "I want the truth," Naomi said. "The truth is you're making problems where there aren't any. The truth is you're pushing me away with all this drama." Preston stood up. "I'm going to bed. Some of us have to work tomorrow." He left her sitting there, the space where the earring had been looking like an accusation. Naomi didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed next to Preston, his back turned to her, and felt the baby move inside her. 7 months pregnant. Alone. Trapped. She thought about Aunt Ruth. About the strength it took to raise a child alone after Naomi's parents died. About working 2 jobs and never complaining. About dignity in the face of hardship. "I can do this," Naomi whispered to her daughter. If I have to, I can do this alone. She didn't know that in 2 months she would have no choice. The pain started at 2 in the afternoon. Naomi was folding laundry in the apartment when she felt wetness between her legs. She looked down and saw water pooling at her feet. Her water had broken. 3 weeks early. She grabbed her phone with shaking hands and called Preston. It went to voicemail. Preston, it's me. My water broke. I'm going to the hospital. Please come. Her voice cracked. Please. I need you. She called an ambulance. The EMTs arrived within 10 minutes, helping her into the stretcher as contractions started rolling through her body. At County General, her own hospital, the nurses rushed Naomi into a delivery room. They knew her, had worked with her for 4 years. Their faces showed concern and love. Where's your husband? Nurse Patterson asked gently. I called him. He should be here soon. Naomi tried to believe her own words. Hours passed. The contractions got stronger, closer together. Naomi called Preston 15 more times. Every call went to voicemail. She texted him, I'm in labor. Please come. No response. At 8 p.m., Naomi was 5 centimeters dilated. The pain was overwhelming. She cried out during contractions, gripping the bed rails so hard her fingers cramped. You're doing great, Dr. Stone said, checking the monitors. Baby looks good. Heart rate is strong. Where is he? Naomi sobbed. Why isn't he here? Nobody had an answer. At 9:30 p.m. the door opened. Naomi looked up, hope flooding her chest despite everything. Preston walked in. Suit perfectly pressed. Hair styled. He looked like he was attending a business meeting, not the birth of his child. Oh, thank God, Naomi gasped. I was so scared. I thought something happened to you. Preston's face was blank. Cold. He walked to her bedside and pulled papers from his jacket pocket. Sign these. Naomi stared at the documents through tears and pain. Divorce papers. The word divorce swam in her vision. This couldn't be real. She was in labor. Their daughter was about to be born. This had to be a nightmare. What? The word came out broken. I want a divorce. Right now. Today. Sign the papers, Naomi. A contraction ripped through her. Naomi screamed, her body curling forward. Through the haze of pain, she heard Nurse Patterson's angry voice telling Preston this was inappropriate. Preston ignored everyone. He stood there holding the papers, waiting. I don't understand, Naomi cried when the contraction passed. Preston, what's happening? Why are you doing this now? Because I'm done waiting. I'm done pretending. Preston's voice held no warmth, no pity. I'm marrying Isabel. She's in the hallway right now waiting for me. We've been together for 2 years. 2 years. The words hit like a physical blow. While I was pregnant? Naomi's voice shook. While I was working to support you? While you were being boring and poor, yes. Preston's smile was cruel. Isabel is everything you're not. Rich, beautiful, connected. Her father owns half the city. She can give me the life I deserve. And I can't. Naomi reached for his hand. He jerked away from her touch like she was diseased. Look at you, Preston said with disgust. Sweating and crying and gross. Isabel would never let herself look like this. Nurse Patterson stepped forward. Mr. Bennett, you need to leave. Now. I'll leave when she signs. Another contraction. Naomi screamed, pain exploding through her body. The monitor beside her beeped frantically. Please, Naomi begged through tears. Please don't do this. We can work things out. We can go to counseling. Please, I love you. I don't love you, Preston said simply. I never did. You were just convenient. A placeholder until something better came along. The words destroyed something inside Naomi. All the years together. The promises. The wedding vows. All lies. Sign the papers so I can get on with my life, Preston said impatiently. Come on, Naomi. Don't make this harder than it has to be. I'm having your baby, Naomi sobbed. Right now. Your daughter is being born. A daughter I never wanted. Preston thrust the pen at her. Sign. Naomi looked around the room desperately. Nurse Patterson's eyes were full of tears and rage. Dr. Stone looked horrified. But nobody could stop this. These were legal documents. Preston had the right to ask for a divorce. And Naomi, in her pain and fear and heartbreak, had no strength left to fight. Fine, she whispered. I'll sign. Finally. Preston dropped the papers on her lap. With shaking hands between contractions that felt like they were tearing her apart, Naomi signed her name. Over and over. Every yellow sticky arrow. Every page. Her signature was barely legible, written through tears and trauma. Preston snatched the papers away. Good. My lawyer will file these first thing tomorrow. Get out, Nurse Patterson said, her voice shaking with fury. Get out right now before I call security. Gladly. Preston straightened his tie, looking pleased with himself. Oh, and Naomi? Don't call me when the brat is born. I'll pay whatever child support the court makes me pay, but that's it. I don't want to see her. I don't want to be a father. I never did. Each word was a knife in Naomi's heart. Preston walked to the door, then turned back. You're pathetic. I can't believe I wasted 5 years on you. He opened the door. In the hallway, Naomi saw her. Tall, blonde, beautiful. Isabel. The other woman. The one Preston chose over his wife and child. Isabel looked into the room, her eyes meeting Naomi's. And she smiled. Not apologetic. Not guilty. Triumphant. Preston kissed Isabel right there in the hallway where Naomi could see. Then they walked away together, leaving Naomi alone in the most vulnerable moment of her life. The contraction that followed was the worst yet. Naomi screamed, a sound of both physical and emotional agony. I've got you, Nurse Patterson said, holding Naomi's hand. You're not alone. We're here. But Naomi was alone. Her husband was gone. Her aunt was dead. She was about to become a single mother with no support and no family. The labor lasted 3 more hours. 3 hours of pain and pushing and crying. 3 hours of nurses holding her hands and whispering encouragement. 3 hours of wanting to give up but knowing she couldn't. At 11:47 p.m., Naomi's daughter was born. The baby cried loudly, her little fists waving in the air. Nurse Patterson cleaned her gently and placed her on Naomi's chest. She's perfect, Dr. Stone said softly. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Healthy and strong. Naomi looked down at her daughter. Dark curls like Naomi's. Brown eyes that seemed to look right into her soul. 10 perfect fingers and 10 perfect toes. Ruth, Naomi whispered, her voice hoarse from screaming. Your name is Ruth. After the strongest woman I ever knew. Baby Ruth wrapped her tiny hand around Naomi's finger and held on tight. In that moment, holding her daughter, Naomi felt something shift inside her. Yes, Preston had broken her heart. Yes, he had humiliated her in the worst way possible. Yes, she was alone and scared and had no idea how she would survive. But she would survive. For this baby. For Ruth. For herself. I promise you, Naomi whispered to her daughter, I will give you a better life. I will be strong for you. And your father? She felt anger rising through the pain. He will regret what he did. Not because I'll hurt him, but because he'll realize what he lost when it's too late. The nurses took Ruth to clean her properly. Naomi lay back on the bed, exhausted and empty. She closed her eyes, wanting to sleep for 100 years. A knock on the door made her eyes open. A man in an expensive suit stood in the doorway holding a briefcase. He looked uncomfortable, like he didn't want to be there. Mrs. Bennett? Naomi Bennett? That's me. Naomi's voice was barely a whisper. I'm Harrison Ford, attorney at law. I apologize for the timing, but I was asked to deliver this to you as soon as possible after your child was born. He approached the bed carefully. I'm the executor of Ruth Patterson's estate. Naomi's heart clenched. My Aunt Ruth? Yes, ma'am. She left specific instructions that you were to receive these documents after giving birth. He pulled a sealed envelope from his briefcase. I'll leave you to read this in private. My contact information is attached. Call me when you're ready to discuss the details. He placed the envelope on her bedside table and left quietly. Naomi stared at the envelope. It was thick, official looking. With trembling hands she opened it. Inside was a letter in Aunt Ruth's familiar handwriting, and several legal documents underneath. The letter read, My dearest Naomi, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you've just welcomed your baby into the world. I wish I could be there to hold her, but I'm with you in spirit. I need you to know something. I wasn't as poor as you thought. I lived modestly because I wanted to teach you the value of hard work and simple living. But I was careful with money. I invested. I saved. I bought property when it was cheap. Everything I have is yours now. The properties. The investments. All of it. I finalized this will 1 week before I died because I wanted to make sure you and your baby would be taken care of. Don't let anyone take advantage of you. Be strong. Be smart. You're going to be an amazing mother. I love you, sweet girl. Forever and always. Aunt Ruth. Naomi's hands shook as she read the legal documents. Property deeds. Investment statements. Bank account information. Her Aunt Ruth owned 4 rental properties in downtown. She had stocks and bonds. She had money in savings accounts. The total value, $3.2 million. Naomi Bennett wasn't poor anymore. And Preston had no idea. She started laughing through her tears. Laughing at the timing. At the justice of it all. Preston had left her for money and status, thinking she had nothing. He was so wrong. The next morning, Naomi woke to sunlight streaming through the hospital window and baby Ruth crying in the bassinet beside her bed. Her body ached everywhere. Her heart felt like shattered glass in her chest. But her daughter needed her. "I'm here, baby girl," Naomi whispered, carefully lifting Ruth into her arms. "Mama's here." Ruth stopped crying immediately, her tiny face turning toward Naomi's chest. The nurses had helped Naomi learn to breastfeed last night. It was awkward and painful, but watching her daughter eat filled Naomi with a fierce love she had never felt before. A soft knock on the door interrupted the moment. Harrison Ford stood there again, looking more comfortable in the daylight. He held a large briefcase and several folders. "Mrs. Bennett, I apologize for coming so early. May I come in?" Naomi adjusted her hospital gown and nodded. "Please. And call me Naomi." Harrison pulled a chair close to the bed and opened his briefcase. "I assume you read your aunt's letter?" "I did. I can't believe it. I had no idea she had any money at all. Ruth was very private about her finances. She wanted you to learn independence before receiving your inheritance." Harrison pulled out documents and spread them on the rolling table. "Let me explain what you've inherited." For the next hour, Harrison walked Naomi through everything. 4 rental properties in downtown, all fully paid off. The monthly rental income was $8,000 combined. A commercial building that housed 3 businesses, generating another $6,000 per month. Stock portfolios worth $800,000. Savings accounts totaling $400,000. And Ruth's apartment building, which she had owned entirely, worth another $1.2 million. The total liquid and property assets come to approximately $3.2 million, Harrison said. "Your aunt was an incredibly smart investor. She bought property in the 1980s when downtown was cheap. She held on to it while the area developed. Those properties are now worth 20 times what she paid." Naomi stared at the numbers. She had worked herself exhausted for a paycheck that barely covered rent. Meanwhile, Aunt Ruth had enough money to change Naomi's entire life. "Why didn't she tell me?" Naomi asked, tears sliding down her face. "She wrote you a longer letter that I'm instructed to give you later. But essentially she wanted you to know the value of hard work. She wanted you to become a nurse on your own merit, not because you had money. She wanted you to choose a husband for love, not wealth." Harrison's expression softened. "She was protecting you. I chose wrong anyway," Naomi said bitterly, looking at Ruth sleeping in her arms. "The important thing is the timing," Harrison continued. "Ruth finalized this will 7 days before she died. That was 4 months ago. According to your state's laws, any inheritance received before a divorce is finalized belongs solely to you. It's not marital property." Naomi's head snapped up. "What does that mean?" "It means your ex-husband has no legal claim to any of this. Not $1. Not one property. Nothing." Harrison smiled. "Ruth's timing saved you. Preston had left her thinking she was poor and helpless. He had mocked her for being a nurse, for not having money, for being beneath him. He had gone to Isabel for her father's wealth. And all along, Naomi had been richer than both of them combined." "Does Preston know about this?" Naomi asked. "Not unless you told him. Ruth's estate was handled very privately. No public records until probate closes, which hasn't happened yet." "Don't tell him." The words came out fierce, certain. "I don't want him to know. It's your inheritance. You control who knows what." Harrison paused. "However, he will eventually find out. These things become public record. And if he tries to claim any of it in the divorce proceedings, my firm will shut him down immediately. The law is very clear on this." Naomi felt something unfamiliar rising in her chest. Not sadness. Not fear. Power. For the first time in months, maybe years, she felt powerful. "What do I do now?" she asked. "First you heal. Rest. Bond with your daughter. The properties are all managed by a property management company Ruth hired years ago. They'll continue collecting rent and handling maintenance. The money will deposit into your accounts automatically. You don't have to do anything right away. And then you decide what kind of life you want to build." Harrison handed her a business card. "Call me when you're ready. We'll set up proper financial planning, discuss your options, help you make smart choices." There's no rush. After Harrison left, Naomi sat in the hospital bed holding Ruth, staring at the stack of documents that represented her new life. She thought about Preston. About the way he had sneered at her for being poor. The way he had called her beneath him. The way he had forced her to sign divorce papers while in labor. He thought he had won. He thought he had escaped a burden to go live a better life with Isabel and her daddy's money. He had no idea what was coming. Dr. Stone came in for the morning checkup, her kind face showing concern. "How are you feeling today?" "Different," Naomi said honestly. "Everything is different." "That man who came by, your lawyer?" "Estate lawyer. My aunt left me some things." Dr. Stone checked Naomi's blood pressure, listened to her heart, examined Ruth. "Your pressure is better today. Lower stress maybe?" "Maybe." Naomi managed a small smile. "I think I'm going to be okay." "You're strong, Naomi. I've worked with you for years. I've watched you handle the worst shifts, the hardest patients, the most stressful situations. If anyone can do this alone, it's you." "I'm not alone," Naomi said, looking down at Ruth. "I have her." The next 2 days in the hospital passed in a blur of feeding schedules, diaper changes, and learning how to be a mother. Preston never called. Never texted. Never came by to see his daughter. Several nurses asked about him. Naomi told them the truth. He left her for another woman and wanted nothing to do with Ruth. The nurses responded with anger, sympathy, and an extra level of care that made Naomi cry with gratitude. On the third day, Naomi was cleared to go home. Home. The apartment she shared with Preston. Except it wasn't her home anymore. The divorce papers she signed meant she had no right to stay there. Harrison had anticipated this. He called that morning with a solution. "One of your inherited properties is a townhouse. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, recently renovated. The previous tenant moved out 2 months ago. It's empty and ready for you to move in immediately." "I can move in today?" "I'll have the keys delivered to the hospital this afternoon. I'm also arranging for a furniture delivery, basics like a bed, crib, couch and kitchen table. You'll need somewhere to sleep tonight." "I can't thank you enough. It's my job. And it's what Ruth wanted. She would be so proud of you, Naomi." That afternoon, Naomi left County General Hospital carrying Ruth in a borrowed car seat. One of the nurses, Patterson, offered to drive her to the new townhouse. "Are you sure you don't want to go back to your apartment to get your things?" Patterson asked. "I don't want to see him." Naomi's voice was firm. "I'll send someone to pack up my stuff later. Right now, I just want to start over." The townhouse was in a beautiful neighborhood Naomi had driven through but never imagined living in. Tree-lined streets. Well-maintained homes. Safe. Peaceful. Harrison was waiting on the front steps with keys in hand. "Welcome home," he said, unlocking the door. The townhouse was beautiful. Hardwood floors. High ceilings. A kitchen with granite countertops. A living room with big windows letting in afternoon light. Upstairs, 3 bedrooms, one that would be perfect for Ruth. True to his word, Harrison had arranged furniture delivery. A comfortable couch. A dining table. A crib with clean sheets. A bed frame and mattress for Naomi. "It's not much yet," Harrison said. "But it's a start." "It's perfect," Naomi whispered, tears running down her face. "It's more than perfect." That night, after Harrison left, Naomi sat in the rocking chair in Ruth's room, feeding her daughter and looking around at their new life. She thought about Preston, probably at Isabel's place right now, celebrating his freedom. He thought he had escaped. He thought he had won. But Naomi was the one who won. She had her daughter. She had financial security. She had a beautiful home. She had her freedom from a man who never loved her. "Your daddy made a big mistake," Naomi whispered to Ruth. "He thought money and status were more important than love and family. He's going to learn the hard way that he was wrong." Ruth yawned, her tiny mouth opening wide, then settled into sleep. Naomi carried her to the crib and laid her down gently. She stood there watching her daughter sleep, feeling a determination she had never felt before. Preston wanted a divorce? He got one. He wanted to abandon his child? Fine. He wanted to move on with his life like Naomi never mattered? Let him try. Because Naomi was about to show him, and everyone else who had ever underestimated her, exactly what she was capable of. The first week in the townhouse felt like living in a dream. Naomi woke up each morning half expecting to find herself back in the cramped apartment with Preston snoring beside her. Instead, she woke to sunlight in a beautiful bedroom, the sound of Ruth babbling in her crib, and the knowledge that this was all really hers. No one to criticize her. No one to make her feel small. Just her and Ruth starting fresh. The furniture Harrison arranged was basic but comfortable. Naomi spent her days feeding Ruth, changing diapers, learning the rhythm of motherhood. The property management company Harrison mentioned deposited $14,000 into her account on the first of the month, rental income from her properties. $14,000. More than Naomi used to make in a month working full-time as a nurse. She stared at her bank balance on her phone, tears streaming down her face. After years of struggling to pay bills, of choosing between groceries and gas money, of working herself exhausted just to survive, she was financially stable. More than stable. Secure. "Thank you, Aunt Ruth," she whispered to the ceiling. "Thank you for saving us." On day 10, Harrison called with news. Preston filed the divorce papers. The court accepted them. "You should receive your copy in the mail this week." Naomi felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. How long until it's final? In your state, there's a mandatory waiting period of 60 days from filing. After that, the divorce will be finalized automatically since you both signed and there are no contested assets. What if he finds out about the inheritance? Has he contacted you at all? No. Not once since the hospital. Then he likely doesn't know. And even if he finds out later, he has no legal recourse. The inheritance predates the divorce filing. It's yours alone. After hanging up, Naomi felt the full weight of what was happening. In 60 days, she would no longer be married to Preston. Her last name would no longer be Bennett. She would be Naomi Richardson again, her maiden name. A single mother. Alone. But not helpless. Not anymore. The next day, Naomi received a call from an unknown number. She answered cautiously. "Naomi Bennett? This is Jerome Parker. Harrison Ford gave me your number. I'm a financial consultant and business advisor. Harrison thought you might benefit from my services." "I'm not sure I need a financial consultant," Naomi said, Ruth squirming in her lap. "You own 4 rental properties and a commercial building. You have investment portfolios. You're receiving substantial monthly income. Trust me, you need a consultant." His voice was professional but kind. "I'm not trying to sell you anything. Harrison asked me to help you understand your options and make smart decisions about your future. First consultation is free." Naomi hesitated. The old Naomi, Preston's wife, would have said no. Would have been too scared to ask for help. Would have tried to figure everything out alone. But the new Naomi was learning to be different. "Okay. When can we meet?" Jerome came to the townhouse 2 days later. He was younger than Naomi expected, maybe mid-30s, with a warm smile and a briefcase full of documents. "First, congratulations on your daughter," he said, glancing at Ruth sleeping in her bouncer. "She's beautiful." "Thank you." Naomi offered him coffee, suddenly nervous about having a stranger in her home. For the next 2 hours, Jerome explained Naomi's financial situation in simple terms. He showed her spreadsheets breaking down her monthly income, her expenses, her property values. "You're in an incredibly strong position," Jerome said. "Your rental income alone is enough to live comfortably without working. The properties are appreciating in value. Your investments are well diversified. Your aunt was brilliant with money. So what should I do?" "That depends on what you want your life to look like." Jerome leaned back in his chair. "Do you want to go back to nursing? Stay home with Ruth? Start a business? Travel? You have options now." Naomi thought about County General Hospital. About 12-hour shifts on her feet. About coming home exhausted and still having to cook and clean. About never having time for herself. "I loved nursing," Naomi said slowly. "But I loved helping people, especially mothers. The system part, the paperwork, the bureaucracy, the understaffing, I hated that. What if you could help mothers without working in a hospital?" An idea had been forming in Naomi's mind for weeks, growing stronger each day. What if I opened my own birthing center? A place for low-income women who can't afford fancy hospitals but deserve good care. A place that respects them, supports them, doesn't rush them through the process. Jerome's eyes lit up. "That's a great idea. Have you looked into what that would require?" "Not yet. I'm still recovering from giving birth." "Take your time. But when you're ready, I can help you create a business plan. You have the capital to do this right, to hire good staff, rent a proper facility, buy quality equipment. This could work." For the first time since Preston left, Naomi felt excited about the future. Not just surviving but building something meaningful. After Jerome left, Naomi's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hey babe, it's me. We need to talk. Call me. Preston." Naomi stared at the message. Part of her wanted to block him immediately. But curiosity made her call back. Naomi. Preston's voice was too cheerful, too familiar. I'm glad you called. What do you want? I heard about your Aunt Ruth's estate. Congratulations. Naomi's blood ran cold. Who told you? I have friends at the probate court. They mentioned a Ruth Richardson's estate being settled. I put two and two together. Your aunt left you some money, right? That's none of your business. Actually, we're still technically married for another 50 days. Which means I might have a claim too. Naomi laughed. Actually laughed. You have a claim to nothing, Preston. The inheritance was finalized 4 months ago. Before you filed for divorce. Before you abandoned me in labor. It's legally mine alone. Silence on the other end. Now I know you didn't call just to congratulate me, Naomi continued, her voice steady. What do you really want? I made a mistake. Preston's tone changed, became softer. Leaving you like that. I was scared about becoming a father. I panicked. But I've had time to think and… Stop. Naomi cut him off. You don't get to do this. You destroyed me, Preston. You mocked me while I was in labor. You told our daughter she was a brat. You told me you never loved me. And now you think you can call and say you made a mistake. People do stupid things when they're scared. You did cruel things. There's a difference. Naomi felt anger burning in her chest. You left me for Isabel and her father's money. How's that working out for you? Another pause. We're taking a break. Of course they were. Isabel probably realized Preston was useless without Naomi supporting him. Here's what's going to happen, Naomi said clearly. You're going to leave me alone. You signed away your rights to Ruth. You wanted nothing to do with her. That's not changing. The court will determine child support and you'll pay it. But you don't get to be in our lives. Not now. Not ever. You can't keep my daughter from me. Watch me. You abandoned her. In writing. In front of witnesses. You have no legal ground to stand on. Naomi, please. Let's talk about this in person. I can explain. She hung up. Then she blocked his number. Her hands were shaking but her heart felt lighter. Preston had tried to manipulate her, to use her inheritance as a way back into her life. And she had shut him down. A knock on the door made her jump. Through the window she saw a delivery truck. The driver held a massive bouquet of roses. The card read, I'm sorry. Let me make this right. Naomi took the flowers and threw them in the trash. Then she called Harrison. Preston knows about the inheritance. He called trying to claim some of it. I told him no, but I need legal protection. I'll file a restraining order if he contacts you again. And I'll notify his lawyer that any attempt to claim your inheritance will result in legal action. Harrison's voice was firm. He can't touch your money, Naomi. The law is on your side. Thank you. That night, feeding Ruth in the rocking chair, Naomi thought about Preston's phone call. He didn't want her back because he loved her. He wanted her back because she had money now. The irony was devastating. He left her for wealth and status, only to discover she had it all along. Your daddy is a fool, Naomi whispered to Ruth. But his loss is our gain. We're going to build something beautiful. Just wait and see. Ruth's tiny hand gripped Naomi's finger as if sealing the promise. Naomi had spent years being small, being quiet, being less than she was to make Preston comfortable. But those days were over. She was Naomi Richardson now, mother, property owner, future entrepreneur. And she was just getting started. Preston sat in his car outside the townhouse, watching. He had followed Naomi from the hospital a week ago, curious about where she was living. The address shocked him. This was an expensive neighborhood. Houses here cost $500,000 at least. How was she affording this? Then he had made calls. A friend at probate court owed him a favor. Ruth Richardson's estate. Find out what it's worth. When his friend called back with the number, $3.2 million, Preston almost crashed his car. $3 million. His boring, poor nurse wife had inherited $3 million. And she hadn't said a word. His first instinct was anger. She should have told him. They were married when her aunt died. That money should be partly his. His second instinct was opportunity. If he could get back with Naomi, he could access that money. He could quit struggling with real estate. He could live the life he deserved. His third instinct, the one he tried to ignore, was regret. He had left a rich woman thinking she was poor. He had mocked her, humiliated her, forced her to sign divorce papers in labor. And all along she had more money than Isabel's entire family. Idiot, he muttered to himself. You're such an idiot. His phone rang. Isabel. He let it go to voicemail. He was tired of Isabel and her demands. Tired of pretending to be someone he wasn't. Tired of spending money he didn't have to impress her friends. The affair had been exciting at first. Isabel was beautiful, wealthy, everything Naomi wasn't. But living with her was exhausting. She expected expensive dinners every night. She complained when Preston couldn't afford the lifestyle she was used to. She compared him to her father constantly. Daddy owns a company. Daddy drives a Mercedes. Daddy bought Mom diamonds for their anniversary. Preston couldn't compete with Daddy. Last week, Isabel had given him an ultimatum. Either your real estate career takes off in the next month, or we need to reevaluate this relationship. Reevaluate? Meaning dump him. So when Preston heard about Naomi's inheritance, he saw a lifeline. Get Naomi back, access her money, dump Isabel before she dumped him. Simple. Except Naomi had hung up on him. Then blocked his number. Then thrown away his flowers. Preston tried different numbers. Naomi blocked them all. He drove to the townhouse twice. She didn't answer the door. He sent emails. No response. Finally, he had his lawyer contact Harrison Ford. Mr. Bennett is interested in reconciliation with his wife, his lawyer explained. Harrison's response was swift and brutal. Ms. Richardson has no interest in reconciliation. Furthermore, Mr. Bennett should be aware that any attempt to claim rights to her inheritance will result in legal action. The estate was finalized prior to divorce filing and belongs solely to Ms. Richardson. This matter is closed. Ms. Richardson. She was already using her maiden name. Preston's life started falling apart 2 weeks after his failed phone call to Naomi. The state real estate board contacted him about complaints from 3 different clients. Fraud. Misrepresentation. Breach of contract. Apparently, Preston had been promising things he couldn't deliver, inflating property values, lying about commission structures. His license was suspended pending investigation. Without his real estate license, Preston had no income. His savings, what little he had, ran out within days. Isabel noticed immediately. "Why are we eating at home again?" she complained, looking at the pasta Preston had cooked. "I'm tired of cheap food. My license is suspended. I explained this. I can't work right now. So get another job. In real estate? With a suspended license? Nobody will hire me. Then do something else." Isabel pushed her plate away. "God, Preston. I didn't sign up for this." "Sign up for what? Supporting your partner during a hard time?" "Supporting?" Isabel laughed. "You live in my apartment. You drive my car. You eat my food. I'm not your partner. I'm your meal ticket." The words stung because they were true. "What happened to us?" Preston asked quietly. "We used to be happy. We were never happy. We were sneaking around, which was exciting. But this." She gestured around the apartment. "This is boring. You're boring. And you're broke. You said you loved me. I loved what I thought you were. Successful. Ambitious. Going places. But you're none of those things. You're a failed real estate agent with a suspended license and an ex-wife you can't stop talking about." Preston flinched. "I don't talk about Naomi. You talk about her constantly. Naomi used to cook this. Naomi never complained. Naomi was easier to deal with." Isabel stood up. "If you love her so much, go back to her." "Oh wait, you can't. Because you're a complete fool who left a millionaire thinking she was poor." "How did you?" "The whole city knows, Preston. Your ex-wife inherited millions and you divorced her a week before finding out. It's pathetic. You're pathetic." Isabel went to her bedroom and slammed the door. Preston sat at the kitchen table, staring at the uneaten pasta, feeling his life crumble. He tried calling Naomi again from a new number. She picked up this time. "Stop calling me," she said immediately. "Naomi, wait. Please. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But we were married for 5 years. That has to mean something." "It meant something to me. It clearly meant nothing to you. I was wrong. I was stupid. I panicked about being a father and I made terrible choices." Preston forced emotion into his voice. "But I want to fix this. I want to be there for Ruth. I want to be a family again. You told me she was a brat. You said you never wanted to see her. All of that was witnessed and documented." Naomi's voice was ice. "You don't get to change your mind now because I have money. This isn't about money. Everything with you is about money. You left me for Isabel because her father is rich. Now you want me back because Aunt Ruth left me an inheritance. You're transparent, Preston. And pathetic. I made a mistake. You made a choice. You chose to have an affair for 2 years. You chose to mock me in labor. You chose to force me to sign divorce papers while I was giving birth. Those weren't mistakes. They were choices. People deserve second chances. No, Naomi said firmly. People deserve what they earn. And you've earned nothing but contempt. Lose my number. Lose my address. Lose any hope that I'll ever let you back into my life. She hung up. Preston threw his phone across the room, watching it shatter against the wall. His parents called that night. Preston's mother was crying. Preston, we heard what you did to Naomi during her labor. Preston's stomach sank. Who told you? It doesn't matter. Is it true? Did you really force her to sign divorce papers while she was giving birth? Mom, you don't understand. Did you do it or not? Preston closed his eyes. Yes. His mother sobbed. How could you? That poor girl. That sweet, kind girl who worked so hard to support you. How could you be so cruel? I was in love with someone else. I wanted out. Then you wait. You file for divorce later. You don't torture a woman in labor. His mother's voice broke. I raised you better than this. Are you taking her side? There are no sides, Preston. There's right and wrong. What you did was wrong. His father's voice came on the line now, stern and disappointed. Your mother and I are ashamed of you. Dad. Don't call us until you've made this right. Apologize to Naomi. Take responsibility for your daughter. Be a man instead of whatever you are right now. They hung up. Preston sat alone in Isabel's apartment, his phone broken, his family ashamed of him, his license suspended, his life in ruins. And somewhere across town, Naomi was living in a beautiful townhouse, raising Ruth, planning her future. Happy. Free. Rich. Without him. The irony destroyed him. He had left her for money and ended up broke. He had left her for status and ended up humiliated. He had left her for Isabel and ended up alone. Naomi had won without even trying to fight. And Preston had lost everything. 3 months after Ruth's birth, Preston's life had become unrecognizable. His real estate license suspension became permanent revocation. The investigation found he had lied to multiple clients, forged documents, and misrepresented properties. He was lucky to avoid criminal charges. Without a license, without income, Preston couldn't afford anything. Isabel kicked him out within days of the revocation. I'm not running a charity, she said coldly, watching him pack his belongings. Go back to your ex-wife and beg. It's your only option. Preston moved into a cheap motel on the edge of town. 1 room, shared bathroom down the hall, $40 a night. He went through his savings in 2 weeks. He got a job at a call center. $12 an hour, 40 hours a week. Barely enough for rent and food. This was his life now, taking angry calls from customers, eating ramen noodles for dinner, sleeping on a mattress that smelled like cigarettes. Meanwhile, Naomi's life bloomed. Preston drove past the townhouse obsessively, watching. He saw delivery trucks bringing furniture. He saw Jerome Parker arriving with briefcases. He saw nurses from County General visiting with gifts for Ruth. He saw Naomi laughing. That was the worst part. She was happy. Genuinely, radiantly happy. The sadness that had hung over her during their marriage was gone. She glowed. Preston tried one more time to see Ruth. He showed up at the townhouse with a stuffed bear he couldn't afford. Naomi opened the door, Ruth on her hip. The baby was bigger now, beautiful, with Naomi's smile. She looked at Preston with no recognition. He was a stranger to his own daughter. You need to leave, Naomi said calmly. I just want to see her. 5 minutes. Please. No. You gave up your rights. You chose this. I'm her father. Biologically, yes. In every way that matters? No. Naomi's voice was steady, certain. A father shows up. A father cares. A father doesn't abandon his child because she's inconvenient. You're not her father, Preston. You're just the man whose DNA she shares. Naomi, please. I'm begging. You should have thought about this before you called her a brat. Before you left me in labor. Before you chose Isabel over your family. Naomi stepped back. Don't come here again. I have security cameras now. If you show up on this property, I'll call the police. She closed the door in his face. Preston stood on the porch, holding the cheap stuffed bear, tears running down his face. What had he done? What had he thrown away? The child support hearing happened 4 months after Ruth's birth. Preston sat across from Naomi in the courtroom, barely recognizing her. She wore a tailored dress, professional makeup, her hair styled. She looked successful. Confident. Nothing like the exhausted, broken woman he had divorced. Her lawyer, Harrison Ford, presented documents showing Preston's income, his revoked license, his employment at the call center. Given Mr. Bennett's current financial situation, We recommend child support of $500 per month, Harrison said. Preston's lawyer objected. Mr. Bennett makes $12 an hour. $500 a month is nearly half his income after taxes. Mr. Bennett's financial struggles are a consequence of his own choices and illegal actions, Harrison replied smoothly. His daughter deserves support regardless of her father's poor decisions. The judge reviewed the documents, her expression stern. Mr. Bennett, you're a real estate agent? My license was revoked. For fraud. Preston's face burned. Yes, Your Honor. And you're currently employed at a call center making $12 an hour? Yes. Are you aware that you have a duty to support your child to the best of your ability? I am, but $500. $500 is less than 1/3 of what child support would be if you had maintained your real estate license and income. Ms. Richardson is being remarkably generous considering your actions. The judge looked at him with clear disapproval. Furthermore, I've read the hospital reports about your behavior during your daughter's birth. Forcing your wife to sign divorce papers during active labor is unconscionable. Preston wanted to disappear. Child support is set at $500 per month. If you fall behind on payments, we'll garnish your wages. If you lose your current employment, you are required to maintain the same payment amount. Finding work is your responsibility, not the court's. The judge closed the file. And Mr. Bennett? Do better. Be better. Your daughter deserves a father who actually cares about her welfare. The gavel came down. Outside the courthouse, Preston tried to approach Naomi. Don't, she said without stopping. We have nothing to say to each other. I can't afford $500 a month. Naomi turned to face him. Then you should have thought about that before you committed fraud. Before you got your license revoked. Before you chose your mistress over your family. How am I supposed to live on what's left? I don't care. Naomi's voice was clear and cold. I worked 2 jobs while pregnant to support you. I paid our rent while you spent thousands on Isabel. I went to prenatal appointments alone while you were sleeping with another woman. You figure it out, Preston. Like I had to figure everything out. She walked away, leaving Preston standing on the courthouse steps. That night, Preston got a notification from his bank. His account was overdrawn. He had $300 to his name. Rent was due in 5 days. He called his parents. His mother answered. Mom, I need help. I can't afford. Did you apologize to Naomi? She won't talk to me. Did you try? Of course I tried. She hates me. Can you blame her? His mother's voice was tired. Preston, your father and I love you. But we can't support the choices you've made. You need to fix your life on your own. I'm your son. And Ruth is your daughter. But you don't care about her. Why should we care about you more than you care about your own child? She hung up. Preston's eviction notice came 2 weeks later. He couldn't pay rent. The motel manager gave him 3 days to leave. He ended up sleeping in his car. A 2015 sedan that barely ran. He parked in a Walmart parking lot at night, trying to sleep on the back seat, wondering how his life had fallen so far. During one particularly low moment, Preston drove to Naomi Street. Not to her house, he knew about the cameras, but just to the neighborhood. He parked where he could see her townhouse lit up warmly in the evening. Through the window he could see Naomi dancing with Ruth, both of them laughing. The baby was getting bigger, more alert. She had Naomi's smile. Preston would never know her. He had made sure of that. His phone rang. A number he didn't recognize. He answered out of desperation. Is this Preston Bennett? Yeah. This is Isabel's lawyer. Ms. Cross is filing a lawsuit against you for gifts and loans she provided during your relationship. The total amount is $47,000. You'll be served papers within the week. Preston's heart stopped. What gifts? What loans? The itemized list will be included in the lawsuit. Jewelry you claimed to purchase for her but used her credit card for. Rent on the apartment you shared. A car loan she co-signed that you defaulted on. Ms. Cross kept detailed records. We were in a relationship. Those were gifts. Ms. Cross has documentation showing you promised to repay everything once your real estate career took off. That constitutes a loan, not a gift. The lawyer's voice was matter-of-fact. We'll see you in court. The call ended. Preston sat in his car, homeless, broke, being sued, his life completely destroyed. And all of it, every single bit of it, was his own fault. He had chosen this. Chosen the affair. Chosen to leave Naomi. Chosen to mock her in labor. Chosen status over love, money over family, ego over responsibility. Now he was paying the price. Preston started his car and drove away from Naomi's neighborhood, tears streaming down his face, knowing he would never get back what he had lost. 6 months after Ruth's birth, Naomi was thriving in ways she never imagined possible. Her birthing center business plan was complete. Jerome had helped her find the perfect location. A renovated building downtown with enough space for 4 birthing suites, a waiting area, and offices. The property was for sale, and Naomi had the funds to buy it outright. You could take out a loan, keep more liquid capital, Jerome suggested during one of their weekly meetings. No. Naomi's voice was firm. I don't want debt. I want to own it completely. I want security. Jerome smiled. Smart. Given your history, I understand. The birthing center would be called Ruth's Place, named for both Naomi's aunt and her daughter. A place where low-income women could receive excellent prenatal care, deliver their babies in dignity, and get postpartum support. All on a sliding scale fee structure. No one would be turned away for inability to pay. Naomi hired 3 nurses from County General who believed in her vision. She hired a midwife, a lactation consultant, and an administrative assistant. She bought state-of-the-art equipment. She painted the birthing suites in calming colors with large windows for natural light. She was building something meaningful. Something that honored Aunt Ruth's memory and her own difficult birth experience. Life was good. Peaceful. Full of purpose. Then Preston's lawsuit arrived. Naomi was feeding Ruth when the doorbell rang. A process server handed her legal documents. Preston Bennett versus Naomi Richardson. Petition for custody and visitation rights. Naomi's hands shook as she read. Preston was suing for joint custody of Ruth. He claimed he had been denied access to his daughter. He claimed Naomi was alienating him from Ruth. He claimed his rights as a father were being violated. The lies were breathtaking. Naomi called Harrison immediately. He's trying to get custody, she said, her voice shaking. He abandoned Ruth. He called her a brat. He wanted nothing to do with her. And now he's suing for custody? This is a manipulation tactic, Harrison said calmly. He doesn't actually want Ruth. He wants leverage. He thinks if he threatens custody, you'll pay him to go away. I won't give him a single dollar. Good. Because we're going to destroy this case. We have hospital records. Witness testimony from nurses who saw him force you to sign divorce papers in labor. His own written statement that he didn't want to be a father. He has no ground to stand on. When is the hearing? 3 weeks. I'll prepare our case. Don't worry, Naomi. He won't win this. The 3 weeks before the hearing were the longest of Naomi's life. She prepared testimony with Harrison, gathered evidence, got statements from the nurses who witnessed Preston's behavior. Dr. Stone agreed to testify. I'll tell them exactly what I saw. That man is not fit to be a father. Nurse Patterson was even more fierce. I'll make sure the judge knows what he did. How he mocked you. How he showed no concern for his daughter. He's a monster. The custody hearing took place on a cold morning in November. Naomi wore her best suit, Ruth with the nanny at home. She wanted to look professional, capable, strong. Preston showed up in a cheap suit that didn't fit right, his hair greasy, his face tired. He looked like exactly what he was, a broke, desperate man. His lawyer spoke first. Your Honor, Mr. Bennett is seeking joint custody of his daughter, Ruth Bennett. He has been systematically denied access by Ms. Richardson despite his repeated attempts to be involved in his daughter's life. Harrison stood. Your Honor, I have documentation proving the opposite. Mr. Bennett not only abandoned his daughter at birth, but actively stated in writing and in front of witnesses that he wanted no parental rights. The judge looked at Preston. Is this true? Preston shifted uncomfortably. I was scared. I said things I didn't mean. But I've changed. I want to be a father now. Let's hear the evidence, the judge said. Harrison presented the hospital records. Nurse Patterson's detailed notes about Preston's behavior during Naomi's labor. The signed divorce papers, timestamped during active labor. Preston's own statement to nurses that he didn't want to see the brat when she was born. Dr. Stone testified about Preston's complete absence from prenatal appointments. Ms. Richardson came to every appointment alone. Her husband never called, never asked about the baby's health, never showed any interest in being a father. Nurse Patterson's testimony was damning. She described in detail how Preston forced Naomi to sign divorce papers between contractions. How he mocked Naomi's pain. How he kissed Isabel in the hallway while his wife gave birth alone. I've been a labor and delivery nurse for 20 years, Patterson said, her voice thick with emotion. I have never seen such cruelty. That man cared more about his divorce than his daughter's birth. He showed no love, no concern, no basic human decency. Preston's lawyer tried to redirect. Isn't it possible Mr. Bennett was overwhelmed? That stress caused him to act out of character? No, Patterson said firmly. Stress makes people scared or anxious. It doesn't make them cruel. What Mr. Bennett did was calculated and deliberate. He chose that moment to destroy his wife because she was vulnerable. That's not stress. That's abuse. The judge took notes, her expression growing colder toward Preston. Harrison called Naomi to testify. Ms. Richardson, has Mr. Bennett attempted to contact his daughter since her birth? Once. He showed up at my home uninvited with a stuffed animal. I asked him to leave. Did he ever call to ask about her health? Her development? No. The only times he contacted me were to ask for money or to discuss reconciliation, which I refused. Has he paid his court-ordered child support? He's 3 months behind. I've been notified that wage garnishment will begin next month. Preston's lawyer tried to make Naomi seem unreasonable. Ms. Richardson, isn't it true that you've prevented Mr. Bennett from seeing Ruth out of spite? No. I prevented him from seeing Ruth because he abandoned her. Because he told me she was a brat. Because he showed no interest in being a father until he found out I had money. Objection. Preston's lawyer stood. There's no evidence. I have evidence, Harrison interrupted. Phone records showing Mr. Bennett called Ms. Richardson immediately after learning about her inheritance. Emails where he asked to reconcile. Testimony from his ex-girlfriend, Isabel Cross, that Mr. Bennett frequently discussed Ms. Richardson's money and how to access it. Isabel had agreed to testify against Preston. Apparently, her lawsuit against him was still ongoing, and she wanted to make sure he looked as bad as possible. Mr. Bennett told me repeatedly that he had made a mistake leaving his ex-wife, Isabel testified. He said if he could get back with her, he could access her inheritance. He never mentioned loving her or missing his daughter. It was always about money. Preston's face turned red. That's not true. Mr. Bennett, please control yourself, the judge warned. The final blow came when Harrison presented Preston's criminal record, the fraud charges that led to his revoked real estate license. Your Honor, Mr. Bennett has proven himself to be dishonest, manipulative, and self-serving. He abandoned his daughter when she was born. He paid no child support for months. He only sought custody when he learned of Ms. Richardson's inheritance. This is not the behavior of a loving father. This is the behavior of someone trying to exploit a child for financial gain. The judge called for a recess. When she returned, her expression was stern. I've reviewed all the evidence and testimony. This is one of the clearest cases I've seen. She looked at Preston with open disgust. Mr. Bennett, your behavior is reprehensible. You forced your wife to sign divorce papers during labor. You abandoned your daughter at birth. You called her a derogatory name. You failed to pay child support. And now you want custody? Your Honor, I'm not finished. You don't want your daughter. You want leverage over her mother. You want access to money. This court will not be party to your manipulation. The judge turned to Naomi. Ms. Richardson, you are awarded sole legal and physical custody of Ruth. Mr. Bennett will have no visitation rights. He is ordered to pay his child support arrears within 30 days or face wage garnishment and possible jail time for contempt. Preston jumped up. You can't do this. She's my daughter. She was your daughter, the judge said coldly. You gave her up when you chose yourself over her welfare. This ruling is final. Court dismissed. The gavel came down. Naomi sat in stunned silence. She had won. Completely. Preston would never have access to Ruth. Never have a claim on her. Never be able to use their daughter as a weapon. Outside the courthouse, Preston tried one last time. Naomi, please. This is insane. I'm her father. No, Naomi said, Ruth's empty car seat in her hand, ready to go home to her baby. You're nothing. The court just confirmed it. You have no rights, no claim, no place in our lives. You made your choice. Now live with it. I'll appeal. And you'll lose? You have no money for a lawyer, no case, and no judge will overturn this ruling. You're done, Preston. Naomi looked at him one last time. I used to love you. I used to think you were a good man having a hard time. But you're not. You're cruel, selfish, and small. And I'm grateful every single day that you left me, because if you hadn't, I'd still be trapped with you. She walked away, leaving Preston standing on the courthouse steps, alone. For the first time in months, Naomi felt completely free. 2 years later, Naomi stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for Ruth's Place expansion. The original birthing center had been so successful that she was opening 2 additional locations across the city. Ruth, now 2 years old, stood beside her, wearing a tiny dress and holding a large pair of scissors, with Naomi's help, to cut the ribbon. "This is amazing," Jerome said, looking around at the crowd. 3 locations in 2 years. You should be proud. I am. Naomi smiled, watching Ruth wave at the crowd. This is everything Aunt Ruth wanted for me. Security. Purpose. Independence. The crowd included nurses from County General, Dr. Stone, Harrison Ford, local politicians, and dozens of women who had given birth at Ruth's place. Women who had received care they couldn't afford elsewhere. Women who had been treated with dignity and respect during the most vulnerable moments of their lives. The center had delivered 847 babies in 2 years. Not one woman had been turned away for inability to pay. Not one mother had been rushed or dismissed or made to feel less than. Naomi had also established the Ruth Richardson Foundation for Single Mothers. The foundation provided grants for housing, childcare, and education. So far, it had helped 200 women get back on their feet. Life was full and meaningful. "Mama?" Ruth tugged on Naomi's dress. "Ice cream?" Naomi laughed. "After the ceremony, baby?" The crowd applauded as Naomi gave her speech about maternal health care, dignity, and the importance of supporting women through pregnancy and beyond. She thanked Aunt Ruth even though she was gone. She thanked her team. She thanked the community for believing in her vision. She didn't mention Preston. He was irrelevant to this story. After the ceremony, Naomi took Ruth for ice cream like promised. They sat in the park, Ruth getting chocolate ice cream all over her face, giggling at the ducks in the pond. "Duckies, Mama?" "I see them, baby. They're swimming." Ruth tried to imitate swimming motions, nearly dropping her ice cream. Naomi caught it, laughing. This was happiness. Simple, pure, real happiness. Later that evening, after Ruth was asleep, Naomi sat in her home office reviewing financial reports. Ruth's place was profitable, not hugely but enough to sustain itself and grow. Her rental properties continued generating income. Her investments had grown. She was considering buying another commercial property. Her phone buzzed. An email from someone she didn't recognize. She almost deleted it, but something made her open it. "Ms. Richardson, you don't know me, but I gave birth at Ruth's place 6 months ago. I was homeless, scared, and had no money. Your center took me in. You personally paid for my prenatal care and delivery. You helped me find housing through your foundation. Today I got my nursing degree. I have a job at County General starting next month. I can support my son because of you. Thank you for saving our lives. Amanda Torres." Naomi cried reading the email. This was why she did this work. This was what mattered. She thought about Preston sometimes. Not often, but occasionally. She wondered if he was still working at the call center. If he was still living in his car. If he had learned anything from losing everything. Through mutual connections, she heard he had gotten a job at a grocery store. He shared an apartment with 2 roommates. He paid his child support now. The wage garnishment made sure of that. He never tried to contact her again after the custody hearing. Good. Naomi didn't hate him anymore. She felt nothing. He was just a person who used to be in her life and wasn't anymore. Like an old coworker or a distant acquaintance. The revenge she had imagined early on, making him suffer, making him pay, seemed pointless now. He was already suffering. His own choices had destroyed his life more effectively than anything Naomi could have done. She won by moving forward, not by looking back. Last month, Naomi went to Aunt Ruth's grave for the 2-year anniversary of her death. She brought Ruth with her, the little girl placing flowers on the headstone. "Gamma Ruth?" Ruth asked, pointing at the name. "Yes, baby. Grandma Ruth. She loved you even though she never met you. She made sure we would be okay." Naomi sat in the grass beside the grave, Ruth playing with flowers beside her. "I did it, Aunt Ruth," Naomi said quietly. "I built something good. I'm helping people. I'm being the woman you raised me to be." Tears slid down her face. "Thank you for everything. For raising me. For teaching me strength. For giving me a future. I miss you every day." The wind rustled through the trees, warm and gentle. Naomi felt a peace settle over her. Ruth crawled into her lap. "Mama happy?" "Yes, baby. Mama is very happy." And she was. Despite everything she had been through, the betrayal, the labor room nightmare, the divorce, the legal battles, she was happy. She had Ruth. She had her work. She had financial security. She had purpose and peace. Preston had left her thinking he was upgrading to a better life. Instead, he downgraded to poverty and loneliness while Naomi upgraded to success and joy. The irony was poetic. 6 months after the expansion, Naomi was featured in the local newspaper. Local nurse turned entrepreneur opens third birthing center. The article detailed her journey, losing her aunt, inheriting unexpected wealth, using that wealth to create something meaningful. It mentioned Preston briefly. Richardson's ex-husband, who left her shortly after their daughter's birth, was not available for comment. That was the extent of his role in her story now. A footnote. Barely worth mentioning. Naomi framed the article and hung it in her office at Ruth's place. Not to celebrate her success over Preston, but to remind herself how far she had come. From the broken woman signing divorce papers in labor to the successful businesswoman helping hundreds of other women, the transformation was remarkable. Ruth started preschool that fall. Naomi walked her to class on the first day, her heart aching and proud at the same time. You be good, okay? Naomi knelt down to Ruth's level. Okay, Mama. I be good. Ruth kissed Naomi's cheek and ran into the classroom without looking back. So brave. So confident. So loved. Everything Preston wasn't. Naomi drove to Ruth's place after drop-off, ready to start another day of meaningful work. The center was busy, 3 women in labor, 2 postpartum visits scheduled, 1 prenatal class happening in the community room. Naomi, we have a situation, one of the nurses said as soon as she walked in. What's wrong? A woman showed up in labor. No prenatal care, no insurance, no money. She's scared and alone. Says her boyfriend left her 3 months ago. Naomi's heart clenched. She knew that story. She had lived that story. Put her in suite 2. I'll take her case personally. The woman's name was Angela. 22 years old, 7 months pregnant. She thought. She hadn't been to a doctor. Terrified. Naomi held her hand during the exam, spoke softly, promised her everything would be okay. I can't pay, Angela whispered. I don't have anything. You don't have to pay. We'll take care of you. That's what we do here. Angela cried. Why would you do that for me? You don't even know me. Naomi thought about Nurse Patterson holding her hand during labor. About Dr. Stone's kindness. About Aunt Ruth's sacrifice. Because someone did it for me when I needed it most. And now I'm doing it for you. That night, Naomi went home to Ruth, fed her dinner, gave her a bath, read her bedtime stories. After Ruth fell asleep, Naomi stood in the doorway of her daughter's room, watching her breathe. Your daddy doesn't know what he's missing, Naomi whispered. But that's his loss, not ours. We're going to be just fine. Better than fine. We're going to be extraordinary. She closed the door softly and went to her own room. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new mothers to help, new lives to change. But tonight, Naomi was content. She had everything she needed. Love, purpose, peace, security. Preston had none of those things. He had thrown them all away for status and money that turned out to be illusions. Naomi had gained what actually mattered by surviving the worst he could do to her. She climbed into bed, pulled up the covers and fell asleep with a smile on her face. The revenge was in the living well. The victory was in the happiness. The justice was in the life she built from the ashes of the life he destroyed. And it was sweeter than anything she could have planned.